Does your furry friend take over your bed every night? It's time to reclaim your space while giving them the comfort they deserve with the coldest, cozy dog bed. Don't wait. Check out the link in the video description to buy now on Amazon.
President Joe Biden's decision to pull out of the 2024 presidential race and the U.S. chaotic political scene has led some to draw parallels with the country's 1968 election cycle. Mr. Biden, 81, finally decided to end his bid for re-election amid mounting pressure to step aside and pass the torch to a younger candidate. He had previously insisted he could beat Mr. Trump in November's election and defy the polls, which showed he was slipping further behind. But a growing number of senior party figures had told him in recent days that he would best serve the country's interests by bowing out the race, leaving the door open to Vice President Kamala Harris. As Americans prepare edge ever closer to casting their votes in one of the most divisive election cycles ever witnessed, parallels have been drawn between 2024 and 1968. During the latter, Republican nominee Richard Nixon defeated both the Democratic nominee, incumbent Vice President Hubert Humphrey, and the American Independent Party nominee, former Alabama Governor George Wallace. On March 31, 1968, 7 months before the public cast their votes, President Lyndon Johnson stunned American television viewers by announcing he wasn't running for re-election. Nixon went on to win, nabbing 43.4% of the votes. Former President Trump will be looking to capitalize on Biden's capitulation and achieve the same feat as his Republican predecessor on November 5. Robert Kennedy died on June 6, 1968, after winning the California primary in the race to become the Democratic candidate for the presidency. The 42-year-old, who had already won the Indiana and Nebraska primaries, was in pole position to win the party's nomination before his assassination. He was shot 3 times by Palestinian-born Sirhan Bashara Sirhan, 77, and died the following day after failing to regain consciousness. He would have faced Republican candidate Richard Nixon in the U.S. election. Meanwhile, on July 13, 2024, former President Donald Trump cheated death following an attempt on his life during a rally in Pennsylvania. Trump was seen turning his head around slightly just before a bullet struck his ear, a lucky move that potentially saved him from fatal injuries. The shocking clip shows the Republican nominee grabbing his ear in pain before jumping behind a podium to take cover as the gunman opened fire. He was seen with blood covering his face as he was swarmed by the Secret Service and rushed off stage in Pennsylvania. More shots rang out as members of the Secret Service scrambled to shield Trump from any more bullets. He was then lifted back to his feet and was seen with blood pouring down his face, but defiantly lifted a fist to show the crowd that he was okay. Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20, was neutralized by Secret Service snipers shortly after opening fire at the former president during a campaign, sending shockwaves across U.S. politics. 2 respective conflicts overshadowed the road to the White House during the respective election cycles. President Lyndon Johnson, amid a fierce anti-war sentiment across the country, announced he would not throw his hat in the ring for re-election. LBJ's decision to send over 500,000 American soldiers to fight in Vietnam during a war many Americans opposed on moral grounds is viewed as the main reason for his steep decline in popularity. Nearly 1,000 Americans were being killed every month, with scores more suffering injuries. Meanwhile, the conflict between Israel and Hamas continues to rage. As of March, an estimated 34,000 people were killed in Gaza, which includes journalists, humanitarian aid workers, and United Nations relief agents, according to health officials. In Israel, an estimated 1,410 people have died in the bloodshed. The war has also split Americans over how the U.S. should respond. In an ABC News Ipsos poll published in May, nearly 4 in 10 Americans said the United States is doing too much to support Israel, up from about 3 in 10 in January. Donald Trump was shot at during his Pennsylvania rally on July 13. 1 p.m., doors open at the Butler Farm Showgrounds where Trump was expected to speak at 5 p.m. For 11 p.m., Sean Parnell gave the opening speech. For 35 p.m., David McCormick rallied the crowd. 5:10 p.m., Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20, later identified as the shooter, was first identified as a person of interest. 5:30 p.m., Crooks was spotted with a rangefinder. 5:30 p.m.